If you try to argue bootleggers didn't create the first muscle cars, and I'm going to point to two things. Number one, America's obsession with quarter-mile drag strip racing. Number two, NASCAR. The actual first muscle cars were modified cars owned by bootleggers during the Prohibition era from 1920 through 1933. These bootleggers needed to scoot away from Johnny Law as fast as possible by modifying their cars to be lighter while adding more power. The initial recipe for the muscle car was born. You had to have fast cars to haul your whiskey to the people and get away from the revenuers, the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission, and the federal officers, said Junior Johnson, one of the greatest legends in NASCAR and former North Carolina bootlegger. American-made, intermediately sized, lightweight, featuring a coupe body and a big old nasty engine, getting about 4 miles a gallon and leaving the rubber from your tires all over the road as you blast down the highway at Mach 1. How did they make these cars so much daggum faster than the law? Well, some ways to hot them up was to add more carburetors, shoving more fuel into the combustion chamber, and new intake manifolds to increase airflow into the same combustion chamber. You see, you want combustion, you need those two things, fuel and air. More of each equals more power. Early versions of turbo and superchargers were added while also increasing engine displacement by overboring the cylinders. Suspensions were almost always modified by adding more leaf springs. Sometimes they would swap engines, such as the Ford Flathead V8, which first debuted in 1933 on Ford's Model B. That engine was so daggum impressive that Ford himself received a letter from bank robber Clyde Barrow of Bonnie and Clyde infamy. He wrote, "It's a dandy car. For sustained speed and freedom from trouble, the Ford has got every other car skinned. If it hadn't been for whiskey, NASCAR wouldn't have been formed. That's a fact." Quoted by Johnson, who was also jailed a year after he began his racing career for running an illegal whiskey steal. 1949 gave birth to the technical first muscle car by Oldsmobile, the Rocket 88. Although it wasn't called a muscle car for quite some time after it had been around, it did clearly define what a muscle car was to be. A lightweight body and a powerful high compression V8. Those former bootleggers who had a taste for speed, they now found a hobby. Quarter-mile drag strip and stock car racing. You can get yourself a Rocket 88 and quickly modify it to become even faster and blow away the competition on the racing circuit. Because of this, other car manufacturers began to take notice. From the late 1940s through the 1950s, models such as the Chrysler C300, Studebaker Golden Hawk, and Rambler Rebel entered the ranks, each one having that same recipe. Lightweight, small body, big ol' engine gobbling up gasoline and churning out power. 1964, Pontiac coined the actual term muscle car. And that was to describe the new GTO. The car was amazing and is still on my top 10 need to own and stash in my garage list. The overnight success of the GTO led Ford, Chevrolet, Oldsmobile, Buick, and all of them to realize, hey, this whole lightweight honking engine combo is really good for business. We should do that too. I could do a live broadcast for 10 days straight, no interruptions at all on that car. My producer says that I gotta mosey on to something else. But do me a favor, we're gonna come back and revisit the GTO in the very near future, so subscribe, and we're gonna do the second true era of muscle cars coming right up. We'll talk soon, you and me. Have you a good day.